Okay, so here we have our Liquin Original. See that? Liquin Original by Winsor Newton. And usually I just kind of shake that up, get it mixed well. And then I'm going to take a little bit of some warm colors. Okay, so I like a little bit of a warm tone. I'll use a little bit of burnt sienna. And also, this is my alizarin crimson replacement. It's a very powerful uh, kind of cool red. It's called permanent red violet, which I don't like the name because it's not violet. It's still a red, but a cool red. And I find when I mix these two together, it gives me a really nice tone. The burnt sienna by itself is almost too warm, too orangey for me. I like a little bit cooler tone. Anyway, that's what I often use, or some variation of that. Sometimes I'll throw in a little purple, actual purple, to neutralize it, but that's somewhere in that neighborhood is where I like to start, and it varies. Sometimes I will use something more gray, more neutral, but something in that neighborhood. Next, I'll take just a big old house painter brush. I like to get the bristles wet first, just kind of get those in the thinner a little bit. Shake that off. Then I take the liquid and I just start kind of thinning down the paint a little bit. I just want a nice thin layer. Again, the main purpose of this is not such a strong tone. It's more about sealing the canvas. And so I just want mostly to get this liquid on there because that's what's going to seal the canvas. Liquid is an alkyd resin, and when it dries, when this liquid is dry tomorrow, uh, this will be, this surface will be about 50% less absorbent, and that means it's going to behave a lot like an oil prime surface, more like a more expensive linen might be, for example. Usually when you buy linen canvas, it comes with an oil prime, and you'll find it's much less absorbent than the acrylic primed cotton canvas. So this is my way of taking less expensive and more available uh, canvas and getting it to behave more like a more expensive canvas, at least in terms of the chemical treatment on the surface. So again, tomorrow this will be dry and it will be about half as absorbent as this one is right now, for example. Again, just taking this. Now this one I think I want to be a little less pink. I want to kind of neutralize this a little bit, so I'm just going to take a little bit of dioxazine purple. Not too much. Just want to throw a little of that in there just to kind of neutralize it a little bit, a little less pinky color. And sometimes it's nice to work on a little cooler surface. So I might do something like this sometimes. The main thing, though, is just to use enough liquid that I'm really getting that liquid down into the tooth of the canvas. And I'm a lot less concerned about the color and more concerned about just getting the surface sealed up so that it becomes less absorbent. Tomorrow these will be dry. I'll be able to uh, draw on them. You know, I could use my Vine charcoal to draw on this tomorrow once it's dry, and it'll work beautifully. And you know, I keep these not, I don't want to let these get too dark. If you do tone a canvas and you decide, wow, you know, it's just a little darker than I wanted, well, it's pretty easy to fix. You can just take your paper towel and wipe it down, you know. You're still leaving enough liquid on the surface that it's going to seal it. But now I've just reduced the value a little bit. So maybe I've got a bright sunny scene I want to paint on here, and I don't want to be fighting with that darker value. So that's another way to kind of deal with the value. So you can see much lighter than it was. And other times, maybe I do want something a little warmer. Again, I'll just take a little, we'll just take a little orange here. We'll bring this back a little closer to burnt sienna, actually. That's what's going to happen. I'll just kind of clean some of that purple out of there. Probably would be a good idea to wear gloves when you're doing this. If I was a smarter person, I would do that. But here is this more orangey tone. And it's a little thick, so at this point, I'm just going to scrub it in to that surface. Again, just making sure I get all the canvas covered with the liquid. And again, if I feel like it's a little dark, I can wipe it down. Depending on how you use your paper towel, it actually looks a lot like brush strokes, which I kind of like. Some artists will smooth this out real smooth, so there's almost no brush strokes. They'll use a real soft paper towel or cloth and kind of wipe it back down. But I kind of enjoy a little bit of random multi-directional strokes. I don't know if I'm going to use this canvas vertically or horizontally yet, so I don't want all the strokes kind of going in one direction. But that is how I would do that one. And again, here, I don't even really need to pick up any more paint. I can just make it a lighter value simply by using more liquid and less paint. Maybe I need a little more paint, but if you tone your canvas only with liquid, it will give it just a slightly yellowish tint when it dries. You will be able to see that it's on there. Your canvas won't be pure white anymore. It's not very dark. It's pretty light. And you don't have to worry. It's not going to keep turning yellow over time. The alkyd resin, once it dries, it's very stable. It's one of our more modern materials. It's not like the old Damar or mastic varnishes, for example, that might continue to yellow with age. Liquid, especially if you don't put it on too thick, it's very stable once it's dry. So there you go. There's another one. So now I've got a couple different, I don't know if you can see these here. There's that one, those two, slightly different variations, different colors. And this works just exactly the same on stretched canvas. So it's the same deal. You know, this surface is just too absorbent for my taste. So I'm just going to seal it with liquid. In fact, this one maybe I'll do with not too much paint at all, just to show you. Obviously, there's still quite a bit of paint in this brush, but I try and clean that out, clean most of it out. And then we just use the liquid. there is a little bit of color still there, but it's not very dark. And again, this is the part that's important to me. The tone, sometimes it's nice to work on a toned canvas, just kind of kill that stark bright white. I find judging some of my high key values easier when I'm working on a little bit darker value to start with. You know, those bright, light, high value, high key colors. Uh, Sometimes it's just easier to judge those when you're not working on a stark white canvas. But sometimes you do want to start off nearly white, and so here you can tell between the edge and the surface, it's not a big change in terms of color, but because this is sealed now with Liquin, this will be half as absorbent as the edge will be. So again, doesn't matter if it's stretch canvas or panel, same process, and you get to choose about color and value, whatever you decide you want.